you have a conversion on all of those things. And the perfect example is the lead magnet page. Let's say 100 people, get to that page, 30 people sign up. You get 30 people on your list. And if you're paying for those leads, if you're paying for ads, then you pay a certain amount of money to get those 30 people.
Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Female Empowered. I'm your host, once again, Krista Gurka. And today is our Female Friday episode. I love having my female guests on here. And today I'm going to be sharing the mic with Claire Pelletreau. Did I do that right?
You did it perfectly.
Yes. I've only been repeating it ADHD with like 20 times in my head. Claire Pelletreau. I actually found her by listening to her podcast. I'm always searching for new podcasts. And then she had two people that I know personally back to back. And I was like, okay, I have to reach out to her. I thought it was really great. It's called the Get Paid podcast, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Which I love talking about because it's a big thing that I love to teach because we are in business because we're good human beings and we like to help people, but we can't help people if we don't get paid. And I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to get paid either. So I invited Claire to come on and let me see. I'm going to pull up what we sent just so that I can read this a little bit, but I'm going to let you read yourself, give yourself a good bio because these never do you justice. So she was initially a Facebook and Instagram's ad expert and conversion optimization expert. So what does that mean, conversion optimization?
What the fuck is that?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. So it's about to get real nerdy, like real fast. I am kind of obsessed with conversion optimization because like everything that you do in online business, like every page that you put up that has your offer, right? Every email that you send that you want people to take a specific action. Every time you have like a lead magnet for a free thing, you have a conversion on all of those things. And the perfect example is the lead magnet page. Let's say 100 people, get to that page, 30 people sign up. You get 30 people on your list. And if you're paying for those leads, if you're paying for ads, then you pay a certain amount of money to get those 30 people. Now, what I love to do is take a look at your page, take a look at your copy, at your design, look at it on mobile. Not enough people do that. And then make small tweaks so that you get 40 people to sign up for the same money, or so that you don't have to increase your traffic. You're already doing things to get traffic, but you basically get more bang for your literal buck, or just like the, figurative one of doing what you're doing to try to get people over to see your things. So if you can make these small tweaks to stuff, you don't have to go out and like reach more people necessarily, because the people you're getting, you're literally optimizing everything to bring more of them into the fold, to get them to your list, to get them to click your emails, to get them to open your emails, to get them to buy on the page. So that's what conversion optimization is.
Yeah. I mean, and do you do conversions at every step of like the funnel? So basically conversion to click on the ad, and then conversion if you're getting them to opt in for a webinar, like show up rate, and then conversion for sale rate, and then et cetera, like all the way through the whole process?
Yeah, I'm not the expert in, for example, increasing a sales conversion rate on a webinar, right? I mean, like there's plenty of things that I can say. In fact, with this new program I have, I just watched 2 of my clients' live webinars, and I have all these notes and things like that. But it is much easier to increase the, click on the ad, and then from visitor to sign up, so much easier to bump those up a bit, and they have a big impact. So I don't see a lot of people working on those things. It's more like, okay, well, here's how your webinar has to be, or here's what your emails, like you need to focus on open rates, A/B test your email subject lines. Every time I A/B test my own subject lines, they come out with a 0.1% difference.
Mine too. It's like 51 to 49. I'm like, it could have gone the other way if it had been.
Exactly.
Yeah,
if you gave it one more hour, it could have gone another way, you know? So I don't spend a ton of time on those things. But we'll certainly, if somebody's like, I have a 0.5% conversion rate in my launches, well, we're going to take a look at why that is.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be there. It's not going to be in like email click-through rates. It's going to be about messaging.
It's going to be a bigger, broader kind of thing that you have to work on. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to skip the rest of the reading of the thing. Tell us who you are, who you serve. And I know that I don't want to say recently gone a different way. It's more like tweaked what you were offering. And so if you want to talk about that, it would be, and I have a few marketing questions for you then after that.
Absolutely. So I have been running Facebook ads and then Instagram ads once they were introduced since 2012. Yeah, 2012. When they really just like first got started. And that's what my focus has been on for most of my business is ads. And I love ads because I love how fast you can get data. And also because I loathe organic social media marketing. Like I just hate it. Don't ask me to come up with pithy captions or to go live on video. It's just like, ugh, you know? And I know that like you and I both follow some great people who are amazing on social. Both of those people who I interviewed on my podcast, right? Shantae Cofield and Jerisha Hawk. They are both amazing. And I'm constantly thinking, well, what would Jerisha say? Or what would Shantae say about this? I should maybe try this on social. No, spend the money on the ads because the ads happen. The clicks over to my podcast, which is right now, I'll be honest, right now, it's what I'm primarily promoting with my ads. They happen day and night. I've got one ad with one image and one set of text, and I haven't changed it in months. Mm-hmm. And it's just going along. So I love ads, but it's not a tool that other people love very much. Mm-hmm. You know, last year, especially, which like quick history lesson here, Apple and their products, they came out and said, listen, we're going to give people the option to opt out of being tracked because we believe in privacy. Cool. That really threw a wrench in a ton of people's campaigns. I mean, e-commerce companies, yikes. So glad that's not my specialty. Some of my clients had no problems at all. Most of my clients suddenly could not see what was working. And as a result, it looked like their results got worse. Sometimes they actually did. It just all became kind of a nightmare. Combine that with the fact that summer 2021, I got this from somebody on the internet, but I call it the hot vax summer, where a lot of people were feeling like, oh my God, we can go on vacation now. Like we can live our lives. And what I saw, especially in August and September of 2021, is that like people were not paying attention to online business marketing. Everybody, $1 million businesses, the pretty new startup, my own business, it was just like, it was hard to get and keep anyone's attention. So for a while, all I did was give people bad news in my program. I was running like a group program on getting a very nice, simple ad funnel up and running. And it was just like, sorry, this is the state of online business. Sorry, that evergreen funnel that you paid $3,000 to learn how to set up, that's not going to be the thing that like helps you retire early. It's not happening. And I can't help but be extremely honest with my people. So,
which is better, honestly, it's better that way. Like it's better that, I mean, especially if you're dealing with small businesses that are like, hey, listen, let's know this now, bite the bullet, cut the cord before the anchor takes us down. But yeah, I can imagine that was challenging because that's what you were that was your bread and butter for the most part, is
Oh my
helping people
God.
with their ads.
And like there have always been challenges over the years, but I have always been able to overcome them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think actually what really made this all like untenable was the whistleblower. So here I am, like trying to convince people to come and join my program, a program that I really couldn't guarantee any results. In fact, I was never sure if the people who were applying would actually make their money back with me. So I would basically stop selling because I didn't love this company, Facebook and what they're doing to teenage girls and all this stuff. So I just had to take a step back. And what I saw is that because I've had so much experience, like not just teaching ads, but running people's ads, I have a lot of experience in marketing, seen the back ends of a lot of big businesses and small businesses, and that there's a lot more that I could help people with that wasn't just ads. Now, if they had a podcast, I would be like, yeah, you better run some ads to that because that is a very nice, cheap way to get visibility. Yep. But let's work on these other things for you. So I launched something totally different in December as a complete test. And it's now what we call Get Paid Marketing. It's a group program. We help people basically get the leads that they need in order to fill their group coaching program, their course funnel, their membership, anything where like you depend on getting signups, getting subscribers to then sell to. We help you figure out the best channel for that for you, and then like help you to nurture those leads along the way so that they're much more likely to buy.
Awesome. So if you're not doing that primarily through ads anymore, is there like a rubric or kind of curriculum that you teach people? Is it a lot of messaging and brand awareness? And then when you say which platform, are you still going to those social platforms, maybe just not with ad money per se?
Right. So I have to say that ads are still a big part for some people, right? Some people who are just like killing it organically, but they have never tried ads, where I'm like, hey, you need to get this evergreen funnel and you got to test it with ads. Can you depend on that? No, but we have to test it. We have to find out like, what could your ROI be? But then, then I'm like, what are going to be the channels? By channels, I mean YouTube, Pinterest, other people's platforms, starting a podcast, things like that are going to work for you in the short term and in the long term. There is no formal curriculum because we take every single client, we do a deep dive into their business individually, and we come up with a custom plan for each one of them. And as they work through the plan, then we update it with them. So we say, okay, this is what you've achieved. This is what we've learned. Let's try this.
Yeah. I think what we see a lot in the service industry, where we're actually trying to get people to come into our doors, is that at least I'm going to speak from my personal experience with our business. So we have not had a lot of success with ads sell on for services. So what we do is very similar probably to what you do for your podcast. So we just do visibility ads that are like super, super cheap. And we are basically, the premise for me, the strategy is just so that I pop up in people's feed. Like it's just another point of reference in their customer journey, right? So it's just like another touch point. Maybe they don't even stop and click on the ad, but they're just seeing Pilates in the Grove. They see the purple, they see the logo, they see it every couple days or whatever it is. And then they drive by the studio. Like, it's just one of those, because I never got to the point, no matter how much we were so honed in on our messaging and our brand, but we just never could create the conversion that leveraged into an in-studio sale. Could we get a ton of leads? All day, but then converting those leads into show up for that session, right? And then converting that session into a package, which for a brick and mortar business is the ultimate goal. But that's what has really helped us too. Just doing visibility ads. I think we do like $5 a day or something like that on the ads. And that's been helpful to us. We've definitely gotten some people that are like, oh, I signed. And we do have I think we have a free intro on there that they can click on. But that's really been helpful for service-based industries, brick and mortar wise. Have you seen, do you work mostly with online businesses?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
But that strategy is so smart. Just that understanding that people need to see something. I'm constantly shocked by how true that is. I say it to other people and then I don't think about it for my own business. And then I'm shocked that I've mentioned something one time on a podcast and people aren't flocking to me. But yeah, no, that is brilliant, because what happens is when you're, even if they're taking you up on the free offer, if you're not targeting them as people who will take for just one free things, then the people who actually come in from that ad, the LTV on them is going to be so much higher, the lifetime value, because they are actually, they have to take the step. They have to take the action on their own instead of just going through a little email funnel to get a free session they never sign up for.
Yeah.
Or
and most of them never come.
For.
They never come. Yeah. And basically what I have done after spending thousands of dollars on ads and consultants and everything like that is I've realized, it just may not work. I will never poo-poo ads. And I'm a big believer in test, assess, retest, assess. I just believe that that's how you do in business. I don't know what's going to work. Let's test it. Right. It wasn't working for us, but what I said was okay, let's flip the strategy on its head. Let's use the system the way that it was designed, which is basically, well, if you're listening to the podcast, you're not seeing me do my phone where people are just scroll. But what happens in that mind is it's just recognition. So it's Pilates in the Grove, or, get paid, that phrase and the colors, and it just is and then they drive by it on a day that they're going to breakfast and they're oh, maybe they don't know where they saw it. They never tell us they saw it on Facebook, but it's just one more touch point that these people get before they're coming in, to buy a service. So that's what we've kind of been doing. I love the strategy about the podcast though, too. I think that's great for people to have podcasts. So when you're looking at things to audit, I would say, that can be improved when you're looking at people's ads, what are some of the things you're looking for? I mean, I'm going to assume, but I don't want to assume anything. Messaging is a big one for people. Are there other things that are where the call to action is? Are there placement, colors? Does it have a variety of things that you're looking for that you can optimize?
Well, the first thing I do is I look at the data, because the data can basically tell me is this ad boring? I don't even have to look at the ad.
Got it.
Is it just not the least bit compelling?
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually based on click-through rate, and then if click-through rate is high, but conversions over on the sign up page, if they're terrible, I go and look for the disconnect. I'm well, do these people think that they're going to some kind of blog post? Did you actually set it up to be optimized for conversions? Because that's really important. If you just try to get link clicks, that's very cheap, and none of those people are going to sign up for your thing. Right.
I think that's also super confusing for people too, when they're trying to do ads on their own, and there's all of these options for what kind of ad are you optimizing for, right? Is it a conversion ad? Is it a purchase, right? Sometimes there's purchase. Is it engagement, visibility? So I think people get confused, which is why I was I'm never going to do my own ads. I want to know enough to be dangerous, meaning I want to know enough so that the person that's doing it, we can have an intellectual conversation. And if I know that things are not, I'm we should see results at this point, and we're not, I can have that conversation with these people, but I don't know enough on how to optimize, I don't have the time or the bandwidth to be in there, basically.
Yeah, it's funny because it takes no time to
when
go
you
in
know,
when you know what to look
doing.
for. Yeah. And I have to say, to implement the strategy that you have explained here, which is, again, is super smart, to hire anybody else to do that and then maintain it. Like, it's one thing if you get, you know, some ad consultants VIP day, like, just set me up this visibility. I just want to be in the newsfeed of the people who live near me. Great.
Yep.
But for like the trackable ROI from that is going to be zero.
Oh yeah. No, totally.
And I feel like I just hear over and over again, I can't possibly do it myself. And every single person has that thing that they can do that I can't possibly do, right? Like, I was talking to somebody the other day who is brilliant at organic YouTube, and she teaches people. And I'm like, did you know, were you born with that knowledge? No. Did you figure it out by going in and doing it constantly? Yeah. So like, you know, so I 100% understand some people are like, my brain is not wired that way, right brain, left brain. That is true. And if you're somebody who can like set up a payment method, like you're not afraid of the tech, but Facebook, you've heard so many nightmare stories. It's like also the lore is so damaging because people have just heard of wasted money. They've heard of like not understanding anything. And I get it. Things change. So maybe the last time you were in there, Krista, like everything looked different. So if you were to try to go in, it would feel like a lot of time. Yeah. So I do recommend that people get guidance. But then
you can maintain some of them.
Yes. Yeah. And if you have guidance in the sense of like, we have a self-study course, right? And that course comes with really legitimate help in our Facebook group. So like, hey, this screen looks different from what I'm seeing, screenshot. And then, you know, like my person does a Loom video, for example, you know, that's worth that investment. But totally. Hiring it out of fear is. Yeah.
Well, the other thing I think that happens too. So like now we do all our own, like we do that ad for ourselves. And actually I have someone on my team that helps me. And I just said, hey, it popped up on my feed. I hadn't seen it in months, but it was the same video. And I was like, you know what, let's just go in and change that video. And she was like, yeah, great. Send me 3 or 4 more videos. And she's like, I'll actually put a reminder to myself now to go check. Cause you can see how many times it's like been viewed by people like so we usually have, she's like, I'll go in and just see. And if it's getting to be like a higher number, I'll just swap out the video. I'm like, perfect, done, easy peasy. Great. And by the way, when I say video, it's like, that's the other thing. I think the barrier to entry to people is they're like, I have to get these great videos. I shoot them with my phone, like in the studio one day. And I say, I just stand behind the curtain and I take a video. It's like nothing famous again, because the strategy is not to compel anything except to just be another touch point. That's it. So the strategy is very like low.
And I don't know if this is a common thing, but it took me a really long, it always takes me a really long time to pick up the phone and say to somebody, especially like pre-COVID, when I was going to Pilates places, when I signed up for a gym, literally not knowing what to expect inside was my biggest fear. So even just having a walkthrough with like a friendly face in doing like a selfie video or like little, you know, like getting clients to wave, like it's, again, I don't know if that's normal for most people.
I think, you know what, it's actually funny that you said that. So what we just started doing this year, well, actually it carried over from 2021, is we have been updating our onboarding like nurture sequence for new clients. And one of the things that we put in there is now like a little video of what you can expect on your first day. And especially with Pilates too, those machines are very intimidating. And so we have this whole little video of like walking through the studio and it's like, this is a reformer. Don't worry, it won't kill you. And it's like something really funny. And it has a video of where you can park. And it has like bring socks. I mean, we have a whole series of onboarding videos. And I think it's you know, I think it does. I think it helps like put someone at ease, especially nowadays. You don't know where you're going. If you're going to a new place, are they wearing masks? Are they not wearing masks? How far apart are the equipment? Like what kind of place are you walking into? And so I pretty vocal about, where we stand in certain things. And most of my staff aligns with me. And so I want people to understand, like, hey, you're coming to a welcoming place. We have been following science here. We're just actually today transitioning back to mask optional because the cases have significantly dropped. But we were in masks until today. So, I'm like, this is what this is what you're coming into. We hope you like it. And if you don't, by the way, I have a lot of other recommendations I'm happy to give you. I'm not a believer that, like we were talking pre-show, there's 325 approximately million Americans. Like I cannot have all those people on my schedule. And just in our little area, I couldn't get everyone, if everyone from my area wanted to come. I want the people that are going to really, really be happy here to come. And if they'll be happier at another place because it's like a different modality or something, then I'm going to recommend like, hey, you're going to be happier there. This is more what you want. Because if not, they're always going to, I don't want to say complain, but they're always going to be like, yeah, it's not exactly what I want. So why not give them the good stuff? So you and I were talking pre-show about how some of the messaging and pricing strategies that we see with people in healthcare and wellness is that we feel badly. And I'm saying this myself included. It's been like a long journey of like charging people for things that we feel that they need. And I'm using need on like, air quotes. So if someone's back hurts and they're coming in for Pilates because their back hurts or because they need physical therapy, the price becomes an issue for us in our own mind. And you were kind of explaining to me that you have a different view now over the last couple of years. So do you want to kind of speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. 3 years ago, I wasn't making very much money, like taking home very much money. And so my my own health and wellness were not a priority. Right. But now, I am in like that category of Americans. It's definitely not the 1% at all. But I have disposable income and I'm almost 39 and I have some health challenges, nothing, serious, but like I would like to finally lose the baby weight, for example. I do have back problems. And so I go to kettlebells for that. Mm-hmm. Right. But the only thing that turns me off about price is when it's too low. Like, yeah, pricing does tell a story, and your prices are always too low and too high for somebody. Right. So I just recently, started working with a functional medicine practitioner, and I looked around and I spoke to somebody and it was unbelievably cheap, maybe $600. Plus supplements and testing and things like that. And then the one who I ended up working with is $3,000 for like a lot more accountability, which is what I need. Mm-hmm. But I just like it. I literally believe they both had approximately the same experience, but I'm just like, why are you so cheap? Yeah. That it like raises red flags.
I'm so glad you said that because I don't think people realize that sometimes. Oh, yeah. I've definitely been to places like, yeah, that doesn't seem like, I don't know that I want to do that for $9 or like how much value could it actually be? How good could it actually be?
Or is it dangerous? Is it dangerous to do Pilates with somebody who doesn't know what they're doing when I have certain issues? Totally. And like, I've been in physical therapy for years for like a chronic back problem. And I was living abroad and I had this like great health insurance. So I just got physical therapy 3 times a week for free. It never fixed the problem, And so I finally started doing like a different kind of that was private. Did you ever hear of global posture reeducation?
I know PRI, which is like Postural Restoration Institute. Is that
okay? Maybe it's similar.
It could be similar.
This is in a different language, so I like have to translate it. But And it just like, it completely fixed the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I go, yeah, I still have months where I'm like, oh shit, how did I let my credit card bill get, it's not like I'm just, you know, like driving around in a Rolls Royce or something, not at all. But I spend on quality services because I'm like at a certain age that it's important. You know, I get 2 massages a month. It is the best $160 that I spend for myself every month.
Yeah. I think that's such a great point. And thank you for sharing
that's
that.
160 per massage.
Per massage. I think that's great. I think that's, I mean, listen, most of my listeners, we are high ticket, you know, so I do, it's another reason why I don't think sometimes Facebook ads always work in our industry, because it is a high ticket. And then some of the mistakes I think people make is they go into like, oh, come buy like that 6-month physical therapy package. I'm like, no one's spending $3,000 like up from one ad. You have to give them like that, get them to know you, get, you know, the whole thing. Like, but we are high ticket, but we're also creating a huge value for people, right? If we can help people who have been in therapy, traditional therapy, for 3 months, 6 months, whatever, and don't feel better, that in like 5 or 6 visits, because we work the specialty that we have, helps them feel better. You're absolutely right. That person is going to be thankful and grateful and will continue to come, or they're going to tell their friends, hey, I actually went to these people. They're pricier, but I felt better in, you know, a couple sessions. I just got a text this morning from someone who does our on-demand, just $19 a month, pre-recorded classes. She doesn't even live in Florida. She lives in North Carolina. And she sent me a text saying, you know, I just want to let you know, I think the on-demand is great. I've been having some shoulder pain. She has 5 kids. And she's like, it's the arm that I always carry the kids on. But after like a couple weeks of being consistent with my Pilates classes, the pain is almost gone. Wow. We didn't even touch her. Right. It's just like the way that we put our online package together creates the value for people like that are looking for that kind of value, right? They're looking for people that are like, I do have maybe some considerations that people should consider. So I want to go to this person versus this person, right? One is not right or wrong. It's just how you position yourself in the market. And I think that's great that for you to let some of our listeners know, like there are people like you that are looking, that are seeking out our services and are happy to, you know, contribute to like things that are going to make them feel better. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And the truth is, like, I worked with somebody when I was postpartum on just like core, trying to fix the specific lower back pain that came after pregnancy. And guess what? I'm not cured, but it doesn't matter. I would still give her all my money again if she were available. She just like didn't have any more availability, you know, and it's not even like you have to fix someone. It's just how she made me feel so seen. I wanted to be her best friend. And, you know, sometimes you just click with people. Same thing with my massage therapist. Sometimes the next day I don't feel that great, but it doesn't mean like her work wasn't great. She makes me feel amazing when I am there. And I had to do like my own work about, you know, charging $9,000 for a program. It's 6 months long and being like, I can't promise you any results. I can't promise you that the Facebook algorithm is going to like favor you, but I know how we make people feel. And I know like what things to do to make them feel seen in community and like centered and focused. Right. And not so like, what do I do? What do I do? It's very money and pricing and value. It's a mind fuck, to be honest. And, you know, still working on it myself.
Yes. You guys can't see me, but I'm sitting over here and I'm like, yes, say more. Yes. It's so true. Like listen, in marketing, in business consulting, in physical therapy, there's 1,000 freaking ways to like treat the same thing. You could come to me as a patient and go see Shantae, for example, and you could have two very different treatments. We treat very differently, but I bet you have very similar outcomes. It could just be we're two different people, right? And sometimes that's why, like, just so much what you just said, it's less about, I mean, honestly, if they sucked, you wouldn't go back, but like, it's the connection you have with this person. And so that's lean into like, you make people feel good. It was less about the fact that you woke up and your back pain was eliminated. And it was more like, while you were there, you felt seen, which is a huge thing. You felt heard. And I don't care if you're in a coaching program, in a restaurant, at, you know, whatever you're in, being seen. And I don't know if this is a male or female thing, but I think for women, I think being seen is like a big thing, and being heard and understood, and in a group where you just feel supported, and that we can lean into. And there's not a price tag you can put on that.
Right. Especially in a moment of vulnerability, like pain, or, you know, like somebody has no childcare and they finally get a massage, you know, like it's amazing. When you're trying to make your online business work, you know, with your coach, it's really interesting. And it's not like Jen, my massage therapist, it's not like she does anything different.
Right.
No, you know, it's not like Winnie, the physical therapist who worked with me postpartum. She was just herself. And sometimes you're going to vibe with somebody, and sometimes you're not. And that is that is okay. I've had to work myself on just like leaning into being completely myself.
That's a mindfuck
because that's
too.
what people want. Yes, it is.
That's a total mindfuck too. So
it is. I'm not the most beautiful woman in the world. I don't like to show myself on Instagram because of my own like mindset shit about the way I look, but like just putting my personality in more and more and more. It just like, people are just like, take my money.
Yeah.
It's so true. They connect.
Isn't it so true? And I mean, people like Shantae and Jerisha, like I've never actually met either of them in person. I've known Shantae for a few years now, but you know, even that, they lean into who they are wholeheartedly, but both of them talk about how they didn't come out of the box like that. Like it took repetition. You know, Shantae talks about all the time about like, it's reps. It's just like, you just do the thing and then you do the thing again, and then you do the thing again. And, you know, they really are who they are, you know, and you're absolutely right. It is a total mindfuck. Cause I don't know about you, when I first started coming online, so I'm 48, so I'm a little older than you. Look, so I didn't grow up with like a phone generation, right? So first time on camera was really uncomfortable for me. But, and I was trying to be who I thought my colleagues wanted me to be, right?
Oh my God. I still do it sometimes.
Yes.
I still do it.
Like you're worried more about the other marketers that are listening to you and being like, that's bullshit. Or like I mean, I'm going to be, if Shantae listens to this, I was worried about like, if somebody like Shantae looks at my thing is like, that's a bunch of bullshit, like treatment. And then she's like, why do you care? I'm not going for you for treatment. Like, you know, stuff like that. And you're so true. Like the more that I curse on my podcast, the more that I like, no makeup, like this is what I look like. I'm in a freaking Def Leppard t-shirt. I have no shoes on right now and I'm in shorts. Like the more that I just sit here, this is who I am. This is who you get when you work with me as a patient. I don't curse in front of my patients. I do curse in my coaching program, so not in front of my patients. Like, but this is who I am. I'm like a straight shooter. So if you don't love straight shooting, like that might be challenging for us to work together. But you're so right. Like people have that just been like, I've been listening to your podcast for, you know, a year now, and I just want to work with you. You know, like, it's just stuff like that. I mean, you feel the same. You're nodding too. Like, was that something like that you had to overcome as well?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, God, I've been through put myself through the ringer in terms of like my brain, and really I mean, have you ever heard me tell the story about how I stopped doing the podcast and what it took to bring it back?
I have not heard that story.
Oh my gosh. So, I started the podcast in 2015 and basically stopped mid 2016 because I'd had my first baby. All of my episodes that I had batched, they were done. And I was like, yeah, motherhood hit me really hard. And I just never really went back. I was editing all my episodes, at the time, things like that. And in 2018, I am at like a mastermind event, an in-person mastermind event with women who I never met in person, but like had kind of a relationship with. And in the hot seat, I'm definitely tipsy because it's the first night. In the hot seat, somebody who I respect a ton was like, I feel like you don't have a brand. And I like ran out of the room crying.
Oh,
I like burst into tears. She was absolutely right because I came back from maternity leave. There was this new like video ads were all the thing. And I had never done, I felt like the biggest fraud. And this one friend of mine, the only person who I had met before this, she followed me and she was like, two things. One, you can pay people to help you with your brand. I recommend that everyone go check out my website right now because I paid some fucking people and it looks amazing. It looks
great. It looks great.
But she also said, you were the most yourself in your podcast. So why not bring it back? And it took me a year to bring it back. But when I did, I was just like, no fear, no holding back, no like caring about what the format or the guests that other people want. It's just like, you will have the conversations that you want to have. So in like my first episode, when I brought it back, I was asking my guest about her sex life, and it's just like, again, the thoughts cropped up. Nobody wants to hear this, Claire. This is a marketing show. Nah,
no,
don't.
They want to hear you.
Yeah.
They want to hear you. And generally they would have the same. Have you ever heard a podcast where like they're interviewing and then you have a question and then the podcast, the interview asks that question. I'm like, yes, thank you. That's the question I wanted to ask. Well, when I listen to your podcast, like, I'm like, can you ask them? And you're like, oh, so, okay. So how much did you spend to make that? I'm like, yes, thank you. That's what I wanted to know. Like, I actually wanted to hear, or sometimes they'll talk about something random and you're like, oh, I wonder nothing about marketing, or it'll be like, and when did you decide to do that or something like that? And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. I mean, selfishly, I bring people on the podcast that I want to chat with.
Totally. And that's how it should be.
Yeah. So, and sometimes I'm like, I get to the end. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know if that answered any of the questions my guests wanted to listen to, but I had a really great conversation. So it was awesome. Well, I love your podcast. I think that it's good. And for me, I'm a big introvert. So doing a podcast is like perfect for me. I can sit in front of my computer and chat with people and have my dog here who's now asleep. So it works out great. But you're right. I mean, I think sometimes leaning into who we authentically are is very challenging. I advise people, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not like you wake up today and are like, oh, I'm going to just be me. I mean, it's like little by little things come out, and then a little more comes out, and then you get a little more comfortable, and then you get a little more comfortable. I mean, the biggest, compliment I get is when I meet people in person, they're like, oh, you're just like I thought you would be.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is really a compliment.
Totally.
Yeah. So let's chat a little bit about getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
All right. First off, how do you get your guests? Are your guests all pretty transparent with numbers? They're happy, or they just know coming on your show, you're going to ask them about their numbers and their books for the most part?
I've had a couple guests on the show who are like friends of mine, and I'm like, I must get you to talk about XYZ on the show. And they're like, fine, I will not share my numbers. And I'm like, okay. Sometimes I make them explain why not. Mm-hmm. And other times it's like, we have way too much to talk about. But every single person goes, before we turn on the mic, goes, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. Every person. Cause it's
talking
like
about numbers.
Just like, what's Claire going to ask? And like, I'm open about being transparent, and yet I'm scared to do it. Like there's going to be some kind of fallout, or people are going to think differently about me. For the most part, people know coming on the show about it, but I still do pitch guests, and I still like sometimes really specific people. Nicola from Side Hustle Pro, I am still coming for you. She is very busy with her son and her business. So, you know, I do have to tell some people about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's great for people to share their numbers. I'm super transparent with numbers. But it's interesting to hear that people, even though people are, that they still get nervous about it. Is that, and so do you think that's because they think that people will judge them based on their numbers one way or the other? Like they're making too much money. They're not making enough money. Oh, I thought you were more successful than that.
I think most people are going to feel that people are going to say, oh, I thought they made more. I don't think anyone's like, surprise, hey, you know, actually make more than you think. The exception is maybe Jerisha.
I mean, when she was like, yeah, no, we made $1 million in profits. But she talks about that. And like, she's open in our groups about that. Like, she's like, part of what she coaches is that she wants you to not only make a lot in revenue, but be lean with it as well. Like, why do we need 17 people on our team, right? You don't necessarily need all those people. Maybe some people do, but not necessarily.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah. I think anyone who is already talking about their numbers frequently doesn't really say that. But, you know, you just brought up something really interesting. Like, you know, Jerisha's like, I don't need that many people on the team. And she also said on my episode, I'm here to like build my personal wealth, not to, you know, necessarily change the world, blah, blah, blah. I also follow I consider Rachel Rogers to be a big mentor of mine. And she's like, get the team, have an impact, change the world, you know, also pay yourself. But they are two brilliant women doing things very differently. And I can take, like, it makes me feel silly that it took me this long, but I can take what works from each of them.
Yes. I'm so glad that you said that, because I have also been in a bunch of different programs, right? And the other thing I will say, me being in big programs now, where I've dropped $15,000 to be in a program, has also led me to not blink an eye when I tell people my prices. Now, it really has, it's one of the mindset things we work on in our coaching programs, because people are like, I can't charge that. I'm like, why? And I'm not a coach that just tells people to charge ridiculous prices and they have no skill set. I'm not that coach either. Because, by the way, a lot of women don't lean into that, because it's the whole bro marketing thing of like, just freaking sell and ask them to send you 5 other people. I'm like, we don't work like that, and that's okay, right? But I do also believe that if you think you want to charge $250 an hour, that you can charge that, right? But when I started dropping $15,000 into a mastermind, only to be in the room with people that I thought could level me up, not necessarily for the curriculum it was going to teach, but because I was like, I want to be with Claire in this room, because whatever she says, whether it's going to be a joke or funny, I'm going to learn from that, and it's going to push me even further, right? I got back to my being able to say, well, this is what it costs for my coaching program now, or this is what it costs me. And it makes me, it allowed me not to feel as threatened or intimidated. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Kind of, absolutely.
I was like, no, I know what I can offer you. And it is not the curriculum. It's not the curriculum. It's being in the room with myself and with other women that are doing the same thing as you, because that's going to make you feel different than if you're on this island by yourself. You're going to realize everyone's in the same place, right? And what I've done with all these different masterminds is, and I've been in with some pretty, you know, James Wedmore and Jerisha, Amy Poor, like these, you know, big name people. And like, I'm like, oh, I like this little piece. I like this little piece. This isn't going to work for my business, but I could tweak it to make it be like this. Right. And like, I'm so glad that you said that, because I think people think like you have to go into these programs and like indoctrinate yourself to everything that they teach. And it's not necessarily true. You can take and choose. You're in a grown up. You're allowed to pick and choose what's going to work for you.
Yeah. Because I typically do become like a disciple of the person. I listen to them, I implement. And it's like, it's only after I've really done that I can step back and be like, all right, now that I've done that, now like what actually worked. And sometimes I have to undo some things. So I'm working on that now. I'm in a new coaching program. I dropped 25K on a 6-month thing. And it's been fabulous so far. But like, I have to be like, okay, how about you don't believe that she is God and you just take what works?
Yeah, totally. There's
it's
my
hard,
dog.
But
I told you he was going to bark at some point.
It's all good.
No, it is hard too. I usually the reason that I decide to join someone's program is because I have followed them for a period of time, and my window is getting shorter, by the way. Now it used to be like a year, and then I'd be like, okay, I can finally drop this money. Right. But I'd follow them and they just resonate. The way they speak, the way they articulate things, the way that their belief on hard work or hustle or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, you know what, this person, this is how I want to learn. And so I kind of buy into the way that they're teaching how to do the method. And I'm like, that's something that I want to be in the room of other people like this, because it's going to help me level up. And I'm a lurker, I'm a lurker in the group. I will implement behind the scenes for sure, but I'm not one of the people that's like in the Facebook group all the time, asking questions. I'll give people support and high fives. I'm also not like, I'm probably like the people like coaches, like their least favorite students, I would say, because I don't engage. Like I do all the work, but I don't engage as much. I think it's also because I'm running a big business in the background too. So I'm in our brick and mortar, you're not online all day. So, but I take what I like, I absorb it. And I'm like, do I want more of this? Or is it time to like look for something else? Maybe, I think that that's like the value that we have. And there's so many different options out there for us now.
I'm going to challenge you on that belief that you aren't like the coach's favorite, because, oh my God, when I hear from people years, like after they bought my course or after I work with them and they're like, oh yeah, this is what I've been doing with my ads. Now I have $1 million business. I'm like, cool. I just need that testimonial. Thank you. But like, yeah, trust me. We love the lurkers if they are implementing.
Yes, if they are implementing. I do implement. I am definitely a lurker though. I'm kind of like, I'm in the group, I'm on the coaching calls. I'm just not like saying a ton of stuff unless somebody pushes one of my buttons. Like I do have some very strong opinions about some things sometimes, not in a derogatory way, but I'm like, there's a few things I'm like, nope, I'm going to have to like speak up on that one. So why don't we tell everyone, like, what is it that you're doing now specifically to get paid marketing, right? Course. What is it? What does it entail? I know we spoke about it briefly at the beginning, but what can people, because marketing is a huge question a lot of our listeners ask about.
Yeah. So it really does. We really do specialize in people who, like someone like yourself, Krista, you have a group program, you have a group coaching program. You're going to constantly need, depending on the way you market it and what you're already doing. But you're always pretty much going to need a steady stream of leads.
Yes. So some of the people that are listening, just to kind of give you a little background, they also, obviously in the last 2 years, a lot of people have pushed online programs. And it's also a lot of what I love to say, I don't consider it passive revenue because there's still work that goes into it, but another revenue stream. Because if 2020 showed us brick and mortar businesses anything, it was like, if something happens and people can't physically come to your location, like you no longer have a business. So how can we provide things? So we have people that are interested in getting courses out there. We have people that have online members, like on-demand membership and stuff like that. And they struggle making that transition from like brick and mortar to online. And I think they have a ton of questions, but it's such a monster in itself, digital marketing, that I think a lot of us are, even myself included, at some point where it's like, I'm afraid people are going to take advantage of me because I don't know enough about what I don't know. Does that make sense? So like they all want leads. Yeah. So it sounds like, you know, and I bring you on because I think that you have like a direct, straight, you know, you're a straight shooter and you're not talking things that are like out there. And like, you know, I love that you're a conversion specialist. Like, I think that's really, really important. So when people, like if people want to come and work with you, what are some things that they kind of have to know or have to have already in order to be a good candidate to be one of your clients possibly?
Yeah, this is a really good question because I was just outlining a solo episode on my show. So maybe people should come over, subscribe to the show.
Perfect.
Keep an eye out for that episode because it's going to come very soon. You know, really what we're looking for in members of Get Paid Marketing is a track record of success online already. Yeah. Because I mean, you can go ahead and test out ads, but we don't really want you dropping $9,000 to work with us and then testing ads to find that actually you can't get cold traffic to convert, because that is what is so hard about Facebook ads is the people who come from them do not behave the same way the people who came to your site organically.
Yeah.
And so when we have people who already have a track record of organic success, we can look, we have numbers to compare to. If you've got like kind of a brand new online membership or you've had a launch or two and like it's going okay, we don't have enough data to know, is the problem the ads or is the problem actually the messaging?
Right.
All we'll see is these people aren't buying.
Yeah. This is why you're so great, is because you're actually telling people that instead of like, oh no, we can fix the problem for you. No. And this is where I'm so glad that you said that. Thank you for sharing that, because one of the things that happens is people come back to me and they're like, oh yeah, I paid XYZ, $3,000, $5,000, $15,000 to this company in 6 months and we didn't get anything. And I'm like, but it's because of exactly what you said. They did not have enough data, or they did not have enough to go on to actually make it work for what their goal is. Right. So if people are, let's say this, then maybe somebody right now is starting an online program. Do you have recommendations for them to be able to maybe gather data, like what are some things they should either do or look for so that they can get to the point that if they decide they want to run ads, they're primed already for like now to kind of like add fuel to the fire?
Yeah. It might be helpful. Sorry, I don't know if that just...
Don't worry.
Okay. It might be helpful to just check out this like marketing self-audit guide that we just made, where you can kind of look at like, well, what am I doing now? And is it having an effect? And spoiler alert, most people are going to learn from that self-audit that they aren't tracking the numbers at all to know. So the numbers to track are people who saw your offer page, people who bought your offer. And then if you have other steps, like how many people saw your freebie page, how many people signed up for the freebie page, how many people then saw your offer page, how many people bought, right? Like these are the points that you need to be paying attention to. And if the truth is you really just need leads, then like all of your organic work is going to result in sales, so long as you're getting enough traffic. And you know, there are a million ways to actually get organic traffic. Nothing that's going to work overnight. No, but there are ways to like test your own ability to close, ability to sell, organically. That's really what we have inside Get Paid Marketing, is people who can sell.
Yeah.
They might not be the best salespeople in the world, but they have clients who love their work and who, you know, came from various channels and are now clients. And so now we're just basically like pouring gas on that fire.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I think as business owners, I think it's also lean into like where your strengths are and realizing where your strengths are. Like I'm a great closer. Right. And so not because I'm manipulative, I just think people chat with me and I'm just like this. I'm like, this is how we're going to work. This is what I see. I'm the same way, by the way, if I get a physical therapy patient, like if you come to me, I'm like, this is what I see in your back. This is what my special, like how I see, if you give me 2, 3, like I'm very specific like that. And if people are like, no, that's perfect. That sounds exactly like what I want to do. Right. And I also have a skill set. I'm kind of like, I can sense what the other people kind of need to hear, so to speak. And I'm not saying that I utilize that like a cheesy car salesman, because at the same time, there are sometimes that helps me say, I don't know that this program is right for you right now. Mm-hmm. What I'm hearing you say that you need, I don't know that we can offer you this because this is how this curriculum is built out. Mm-hmm. Right. So I'm a great closer. So I love my call to action to be like, book a discovery call with me. Now, right now, that's doable. Mm-hmm. 2 years from now, but for right now, it's working for me. Mm-hmm. And I actually like to jump on the calls with people because, to be honest, I don't want people buying into my groups that aren't great for my groups anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So
agreed.
Yeah. So that's what we're like, you know, but eventually we'll probably get to a point that we do just need more fish in the pond, mm-hmm. you know? So, and we'll see. And I think it's okay to change your mind. I did love what you posted today, something about CEO activities to work on. So I think you posted something on your Instagram.
I shared Vanessa Lau's email from this morning. That was really great.
So,
but I just want to point something out, because you just said that you're really skilled at closing. And then twice you clarified that not in a snake oil bro-y kind of way. It's so funny that we feel that we have to clarify that. It's like only women would say that.
You're
right?
actually true. It's so funny. That is really true, because, and the fact that I still do it, even though I coach all the time, like selling is serving. Mm-hmm. I'm offering a service that is helping people get better, but still innately, I still said, but not in a salesy sort of way, not in a manipulative sort of way.
You should own it. The rest of us here were probably like, oh my God, I'm so jealous. It never would have occurred to me that it would be sleazy. Just,
good. That's good to know that. Cause in my head, I was like, people think that I'm a good closer means I'm a good salesperson, which means like I'm tricking them into the process.
A good salesperson is necessary for a business.
You're right. No, you're absolutely right.
All good if you can amass followers. If you can't close any of them,
it means nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is, words matter, right? And what we think and stuff like that. So you're absolutely right. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I love when I'm like, you know what? I'm going to change that. I'm a great closer. Yeah. Period.
Good for you. Period.
Period. So let's tell people where they can find you on the interwebs, and your podcast again, so they can check out and listen. I love the conversations you have. You're great to listen to also. So let's tell them. We'll link it all up in the show notes.
Yeah. So the podcast is the Get Paid Podcast. Now, if you just type in Get Paid Claire, then that's going to be the easiest way to find it. There are all kinds of Get Paid. I don't know what's over there. And then my site is clairepells.com. That site, to be honest, is still very focused on Facebook ads, because I don't believe that your website is really necessarily the driver of your sales. It certainly helps, but we have other ways to make sales before updating that. And this, like I said, this kind of shift I've made is very recent. But yeah. And then if you wanted to come over on Instagram, where I'm mostly just sharing other people's stuff, and say hello in the DMs, I am at Claire Pells there.
Perfect. I share a lot of other people's stuff too on my Instagram, but it's also kind of a reminder to myself. Like when I share it, I'm like, I'm just basically reminding myself to think that, remember to do that. Exactly. I like that. Yeah. So, well, this has been excellent. I've loved having our conversation. I love talking about getting paid, even though we didn't really talk numbers that much in there. We had other stuff to talk about, but
yeah,
it was
that pricing mindfuck is important. So we got that.
It's such a doozy. And I don't know that it ever 100% goes away. I just think we get better at it.
Yeah.
So we just get better at the self-talk around the pricing. But people, if you're listening, like there's lots of women like Claire out here that are looking for reputable healthcare, wellness service providers, fitness providers to meet their needs. So you don't have to feel bad. You don't have to feel badly, right? There's lots of people out there. And we're going to link everything up in the show notes. Now, I usually end, if I remember, and I just did, with some like rapid fire questions, which I totally stole this from Brene Brown because she asks people questions and I then like to ask people questions, basically to get people a chance to know you besides what you do for business. Great. So are you cool with that?
I'm ready.
Cool beans. All right. So if you were not doing what you are doing right now professionally, what do you think you'd be doing?
My mom always thought that I should be a real estate agent.
Huh.
And I think today I'd be interested in that.
Interesting. It's a great, at least down here in Florida, it's a great market right now if you can get some properties to list.
Yeah, no fucking kidding.
Okay, this is one I ask everyone. What is something most people get wrong about you?
Everyone thinks that I'm extremely confident.
Huh.
I have a lot of self-confidence issues.
That's, you know what? I think most women in business that on the outside we present as successful too. Like they say the same thing. People are like, but again, I think it's like you have, you kind of know what you want, but it's not without us second guessing ourselves either.
I'm working on it. It's getting better.
I think we're all getting better. People always think that I'm really, really serious. Like and I'm like, I do have a resting bitch face most of the time, but I promise you, I'm not really that mean. All right. What has been one of your biggest failures, personally or professionally? Learning lessons. We don't have to call them failures. Insights, learnings, mistakes, something you wish you would have done differently.
Trying to think of something in the personal realm because we've talked so much about business. I've had like a million
you're a mom. Flops. Come on, there's been like probably.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a yeller, I work on I have a challenging 6-year-old, almost 6-year-old. And please do not come into my DMs with your positive parenting shit. Like we are in family therapy. Everyone in my family is in therapy except for the 20-month-old.
Don't DM us your positive your way to do it. Yeah.
I mean, say hi, please don't pitch me anything. That's like one of the boundaries that I feel like I need to set all the time. My daughter, for a while, I was just screaming back. And sometimes I still do.
It's hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was a big yeller. My mom was a big yeller. And
mine too.
My brother, sister, and I always talk about how we're really big yellers in our household. And we've all tried to make a conscious effort. Because one of the things that I noticed, I can only speak for my story, but the yelling, like I would just come home from work, right? Where I was working as a service provider. So I was giving a lot of energy at work. I was just like tired and I would go right to yelling. And the only thing that actually happened was I was getting more irritated. My kids kind of just tuned me out eventually. And then I was getting more and more and more irritated. And I went to therapy. I'm very transparent about my therapy. And one of the first things I said to her when I went to therapy was like, I'm yelling at my kids all the time. And I don't want to have that relationship with my kids. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's been a lot of other shit we've unpacked, but like, I'm really much better now at like reacting differently to things. And I have one of my younger sons has an ADHD. And like, when he's not on his medication, it's not his fault, but sometimes I'm like, Mom cannot have so much stimulation right now, honey. I need you to or I'm going to go in the other room. So yelling is a tough one. I I hear you on that. So, well, this has been a great conversation. I hope it's not too freezing cold outside for you up there in the Northeast. It's like 80 down here today in Florida. So
I only hate you a little.
Only a little, but it only lasts like 3 weeks and then we're done. So, but it was great to chat with you. I thank you so much. We're linking all of your stuff up in the show notes. And if you're listening, go ahead and DM her on Instagram. Let her know you like this podcast. Subscribe to her podcast, the Get Paid Podcast. We're all looking for subscribers.
Yes, we are.
We are all looking for subscribers. So until next time, my friends, bye for now.
Bye.